Like, I just was talking to somebody before we jumped on this call, and they got done dirty. I mean, the contractor did. An investor did them super dirty, and it's because the stuff wasn't in writing. And I was like, God, why didn't you get that in writing? What are you thinking? So, keep everybody honest, keep everybody on the same page, get stuff in writing, talk about the timeline. This is where your scope of work is so important. And I tell you, if you're not using the scope of work on your projects, start using the scope of work on your projects. You've got to lay that out. Everything, the expectation for the project, and don't be doing this walk through a property. And I know I've done this before, and it always ends up bad. But you walk through a property, you're talking to a contractor, you're pointing to a bunch of stuff, and saying this, that, and the other, and you think you're on the same page, and you get, it could be going really well, and you get to the end, and you're like, well, hey, how about when are you going to do that project? Oh, that wasn't on our original. If you don't have anything written down, you have no idea. It was just in thin air. I mean, you said it and it just vanished. So get your scope of work really dialed in. And here's a pro tip. I use ChatGPT all the time, like all the freaking time. Do your scope of work with ChatGPT. Open up ChatGPT, click on, you're going to type in something, type in your message, and just click on the record and do a talk to text right to ChatGPT, and create your scope of work. And so here's generally what I'll say. And I've trained mine so it knows how to format my scope of work. Here's a quick hack. You can talk to GPT, say, create for me a scope of work for a project at 123 Main Street. Lay this out by each and every room, specifically highlight each and every point that I specify with a period or a comma. Utilize this with bullet points, and lay this all out sequentially as I walk through the property. And that's it. And I go through and I walk through the property, and I'll say, okay, starting here in the kitchen, we need to demo these cabinets, install new cabinets, new backsplash. We're going to put butcher block counter in, stainless steel sink, garbage disposal. We need to check all the wiring. And I'm just talking this whole time through that. One thing you do want to do though is hit pause a couple of times and have GPT spit out what you've done. If you go through and you're like literally talking for 30 minutes into there, it's probably going to overload it and you're not going to get a good prompt, or you get a call and it cuts off or something. So generally speaking, what I do is I'll click send about after every 2 rooms. So I'll go through the kitchen and then maybe hit the dining room and I'll hit send, and it's given me a scope of work. And then I'll click it again and I'll say, okay, picking up where I left off, we're now in the living room. We need to replace the 2 windows on the north wall. We're going to demo the fireplace and put new tile up. I want to put a cedar wrapped mantle on above the fireplace. We're going to paint an accent wall, and I'll just continue to go through and through. That is about as simple as a scope of work as you'll ever be able to do, and it's going to be extremely detailed. We used to spend, we'd spend an entire afternoon, or my project managers would, typing all this stuff out, and that was even after kind of rinse and repeat and copy paste. If you just use ChatGPT for your scope of work, just like I've outlined it, it'll go very, very, very quickly. Another pro tip, do the same thing with your punch list. So you get close to the finish line and you're doing a punch list. I do the same thing. I open it up, say, okay, create a punch list for 123 Main Street. As I walk through, detail this out, bullet points, room by room, and then I'll do the same thing. And I'll go through and I'm here in the kitchen. Everything looks good, but the grout needs to be sealed on the backsplash. We need a transition strip on the and it'll give me a punch list. So those are